Combat helicopters, tanks, and even an A-10 Warthog are among the passenger list of one of the most important military transport planes in the United States. It's no wonder that this Titan, designed by Lockheed, is among the most popular aircraft in the U.S. Air Force. But to delve deeply into the history of the C-5 Galaxy, we need to venture into the Cold War, massive spending, adventures in Antarctica, and even the career of an adult film actress. In this installment of Military Aviation, we invite you to learn all about this legend of air transport. At the beginning of the 1960s, the aerospace industry became interested in producing heavy jet transport aircraft, and it was in this context that the United States Army realized it needed a similar model. One with cargo bays capable of accommodating large equipment used, for example, in aerospace projects or during invasions. This led to a competition in which all major aerospace companies participated. The final decision was made in 1965. While the Air Force considered Boeing's model the best of all, Lockheed's proposal was much cheaper and more sensible in terms of production time. Ironically, over time, this aspect became problematic as the development of the C-5 Galaxy went down in history as one of the most chaotic, costly, and problematic in the entire U.S. fleet. Along with the model, the General Electric TF-39 engine was selected, which at that time was truly revolutionary in terms of performance and fuel efficiency, surpassing all engines of the moment. On March 2, 1968, the first C-5A Galaxy rolled off the manufacturing plant, promising to usher in a new and glorious chapter in the history of military strategic transport. Flight tests were conducted in June of the same year, and that's where all the accumulated optimism came crashing down. The Galaxy is a massive aircraft, 75 meters long, with a wing area of 576 square meters and nearly 20 meters in height. This translates to a weight of 172 tons, which was problematic from the first test flight. Numerous fuselage and wing failures were recorded, making it unable to meet the Army's requirements. Critical cracks were also discovered, necessitating changes to the wing design, including the addition of a passive load reduction system with ailerons, as well as a reduction in the maximum payload from 100,000 to 86,000 kilograms. Saying that the introduction of the Galaxy was a nightmare is not an exaggeration. The C-5 program has the dubious honor of being the first development with costs exceeding $1 billion in the 1960s, which is equivalent to around $7.4 billion in today's dollars. The constant delays and cost overruns of the C-5A earned it the nickname FRED, which stands for Freaking Ridiculous Economic Disaster, but the more controversial nickname is yet to come. We'll see that later. Despite the cost overruns and an economic crisis that nearly wiped Lockheed off the map, the C-5 Galaxy gradually entered service starting in June 1970. Beyond any possible bureaucratic criticism, the Giant revolutionized military transport, to the extent that even NASA considered it for the role of transporting the space shuttle. The C-5, as we know it today, is a high-wing cargo aircraft with a T-shaped tail. It is powered by 4 General Electric TF-39 turbofan engines mounted on pylons under its gigantic wings, which are swept back at 25 degrees. The Galaxy was designed to carry large loads, and much of its design is focused on being able to carry all kinds of units, whether it's a massive CH-47 Chinook or even 3 AH-64 Apaches. The limit is imagination. For these incredible logistics operations, it has entrances both in the nose and tail, allowing for simultaneous loading and unloading, which brings us to the title of the video. One of the nicknames of the C-5 Galaxy is Linda Lovelace, the name of the most famous pornographic actress of the 1970s, star of the hit Deep Throat. The fact that Lockheed's model could receive cargo from both ends stimulated the imagination of the pilots, who didn't hesitate to name the aircraft after their favorite performer. Another structural advantage is in the landing gear, which can be lowered using a hydraulic system to decrease the height of the aircraft if necessary. Additionally, the aircraft is capable of moving in reverse to position itself more favorably for loading and unloading. Regarding human transport, the upper cargo deck has space for up to 80 passengers in seats facing backward, unlike virtually all commercial aircraft. If you paid attention to the date when this aircraft entered service, you might be able to guess which major conflict it first participated in.
The skies over Vietnam witnessed the first operations of the C-5, transporting thousands of soldiers and supplies to Asian territory.
The problem is that they also witnessed the first major disaster of the galaxy when, in 1975, a fully loaded unit carrying soldiers and refugees crashed, killing all 140 occupants. Not all stories about the C-5 are so grim. In fact, it has many more successful anecdotes than tragic ones.
During the Yom Kippur War, some units were sent to support the Israeli Air Force with the transport of weapons and supplies.
Its performance was spectacular. All operations were completed in record time and represented a significant tactical advantage over the Arab alliance. Such was the success that the United States considered expanding its fleet after seeing the results in the Middle East. What's incredible about the service history of the Galaxy is the variety of operations it has participated in. Perhaps the riskiest and most eccentric occurred on October 24, 1974, when a C-5 earned a place in the history books by serving as a launch platform for a 39,000-kilogram Minuteman intercontinental ballistic missile at an altitude of over 6,000 meters. It was a milestone, proving that it was possible to launch an ICBM from the air, although the maneuver was not repeated due to being considered too dangerous and complex. Such was the importance of that achievement during the Cold War that the aircraft used, designated 69-0014, is currently in the Museum of Air Mobility Command at Dover. But, believe it or not, that wasn't the last time the C-5 participated in ultra-secret and extremely rare operations. Between the late 1970s and early 1980s, the United States embarked on the development of one of its most ambitious and expensive aircraft, the F-117 Nighthawk, a stealth fighter that looked like it came from the future. During confidential flight tests, a Galaxy was used to transport disassembled units. Other honors in the history of this logistical aircraft include being the largest model to have ever operated in Antarctica without any problems caused by extreme cold. Additionally, in a more conventional combat context, it was the primary supply transport unit during the Gulf War in the early 1990s. In conclusion, beyond its tumultuous development process and curious nicknames, the Galaxy is a success story for American aviation. Many of Uncle Sam's great technical and military achievements were made possible thanks to the operation of large tactical transport machinery like the powerful C-5. That's why it has a secure place among the best aircraft of its kind ever built. So, we've reached the end of this video, but before we say goodbye, we want to thank you for your continued support. We'll see you in the next installment of Military Aviation.